Hello, Super League fans worldwide. It's been a couple of weeks since we did a record, but as we've been told there is officially no midweek action this time round, we thought we got nothing better to do on a Tuesday night. It's either talk Super League or watch Man City dispense of PSG, and really only one of those topics is interesting. I'm delighted to say, starting us off as we await potentially a few more guests, Dudley boss Steve Wright is with us. Good evening, pal.
Good evening, mate. Nice to be back.
It is, and weird to do it on a Tuesday night. It's like the Super League a few years ago. And I'm also pleased to say we've got the incoming Churchtown sort of temp boss, caretaker, manager while on gardening leave. I'm not really sure the situation. We will probe deeper. Dimble's with us as well. Hello, pal.
Good evening, Fivey. Good evening, Steve.
What is the official title? Caretaker?
I suppose so. Yeah, it's just a temporary thing while Kieran has a think about what he's going to do. So yeah, I'm just happy to be involved. So yeah, hopefully it lasts longer from my point of view. So if Kieran wants to jet off into the sunset, I'm happy with that.
Well, we will certainly be talking Churchtown and quite quickly. We are a third of the way through the season, so I've kind of got a couple of questions about each team, and we can discuss where we think before we have a little preview of whether it's Friday night if Ryan can sort it, or Sunday night's fixtures with Martin. We'll start at the bottom and with Churchtown. So before we sort of probe you on what attracted you to taking it, well, I'll ask Steve first. I've obviously had a couple of appearances on co-coms already this season, and although they are bottom with a measly 4 points, more often than not, they seem to be quite unlucky, in my opinion. And you know that although they're losing games, and some they're losing spectacularly, they're generally been in games. Do you think Kieran's been quite unlucky?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'd probably say 70% of games he's been quite unlucky. I genuinely don't think the one at the back's been helping that. If he'd have had two a little bit more solid in it up, especially away from home, I think you're more likely to get away with it at home. If you're away from home, I'd two at the back. I mean, the main thing is everybody were questioning a few of Kieran's transfers as the early parts of the transfer window were happening, and why are you letting him go? But then once the season kicked off and you saw everything that he did have in place, it is one of them, isn't it, where people will chastise certain deals, but you go for the overall picture of what the manager's going for. So I think he ended up all right. I mean, obviously everybody chastised about him letting Brett Emerton go, but when he's got Zanetti there, I don't like Emerton at all in the slightest at DMC. He's always better on right, so he's never going to displace Zanetti, as he was a proven player at this level massively. So at the end of the day, I think his squad looked a lot more rounded than it did last year, and he's obviously gone for especially one player that shall not be named, who he's trying to get a little bit of something out of, which I couldn't. Rob did a little bit, and there is potential there to have a really good go and certainly climb away from bottom of the league. And obviously with Dimble's input now, everybody knows how astute Kieran is. Obviously he's had some really, really good results over years that he's been in Super League. So for a little bit of fresh ideas, somebody like Dimble to come in as well. It's especially for you this coming week after being on network staves, you know, it's going to be interesting to see that you're first up to face it.
And I think one of the words you used there, Steve, was potential, and it's a good time to bring Dimble back into conversation. When you look at the squad, are you already formulating ideas? We know that you watch all the shows, you're well invested in the Super League. Did you already have ideas as soon as you were offered it as to what you could do to turn it around?
Off the top of my head, I didn't have a clear kind of idea, but I have had a good look at the squad last night and a bit tonight as well, and fairly happy with what's there. I think Kieran has been a little bit unlucky, and I think he's kind of tried not out of the box tactics. He's tried to be a bit different, and it's not quite paid off this time for him. I know it has done in the past. So I think there is a bit more potential in there, but I don't think it's a top 6 squad. It's got decent balance to it in terms of all the positions are kind of covered. It's got a couple of star players. Zanetti on the right, I think, is probably the strongest one. Getting Totti firing is going to be a big ask, I think, because I've seen what he's done consistently over the last kind of year of watching the Super League. He's a difficult man to get going. So I'm not honestly, I'm not that confident I'll be able to do it either. So I might be sliding into Rob's DMs to find out what he was doing, because I will be interested to see that. But in terms of the challenge, I'm well looking forward to it, and I think I can get a few wins out of them, that's for sure. Don't think it's going to start this weekend with a very, very tough game, literally the toughest game on the calendar, away at the Devils. So yeah, just looking forward to it. I think it'll take me 3 or 4 weeks to kind of get into it properly. I've already changed my mind about 5 times on what I'm gonna play and who I'm gonna start. So we'll see what I come up with in the end.
And obviously, there's no suggestion that Kieran's walking. He's just taking a few weeks or whatever just to get his head in the right place. Refocus and stuff. But however long your involvement is, with the situation we find ourselves now, rock bottom in the league, 4 points from the 9 games. What is a realistic ambition for Churchtown? You've said it's not a top 6 squad. You're already 10 points off the playoffs. I'm presuming you don't think playoffs is realistic, but getting away from the bottom?
Yeah, I think playoffs would be a massive ask. I don't think any manager would pull it off, and there's no room for mistakes. If I wanted to do a massive run to the playoffs now, it would take an almost faultless kind of display. And I'm new to this, so I'm not going to be straight out the blocks amazing. But I do think probably my aim is to catch the Dragons. That'd be the best thing I could do, which would delight me greatly, since I'm 9 points behind them at the minute. I think that's a possibility.
So catching 9 points for the Dragons is possible, but catching 10 points to the playoffs isn't?
Well, yeah, I imagine they'd come back towards the middle of the table rather than push on.
Well, let's talk about your nearest challenges at the minute, the first hurdle, if you like. Bostock Stanley also on 4 points, just a marginally better goal difference, really. They have got the worst defence in the league currently, though, conceded 23 goals in those 9 games. So that's just short of averaging 3 a game. The two go hand in hand, I suppose. A lot of people, including myself, who was quite vocal of it, very critical of Scott, messing around with the tactics. Do you think potentially now he's kind of going back to what he's done before, you'll start to see them pull away? Or do you think morale will be that low within the squad that he's going to find it difficult to pull away?
I don't think it's as simple as being able to just kind of switch it on, as in we're going to be good now. If it was that easy, then everyone would be doing it. I do think, obviously, the stuff he was doing tactically has cost him a few points. I don't think if he'd have stuck at what he was doing last season, he would be 6 to 9 points better off than he is now, I imagine. So, yeah, Scott had his reasons for doing that, and he's kind of proven his point, and I imagine he'll take it in the same light he has done previously. He'll have a solid, consistent formation, probably. I don't think he's got the players up front to push on for a playoff push, but then again, he's got Collins now, hasn't he? So you never know. But if Collins plays and he's got rid of his main striker, who leads the line for him, and who's gonna turn up when Collins has his inevitable kind of 6 every 3 or 4 games. Well,
that's where I was gonna kind of segue Steve into it. the big transfer has gone through now, the Collins-Vieri swap. What's your take on that one?
Personally, I know Vieri did okay for Haggis last season. I think over the course of me watching Super League, obviously being involved last season, full season before, and sort of catching the season before that, I think he's at times been as bad or even worse than Crespo for having that big name mentality and big name ability to do it. Everybody knows he can do it, but getting it out of him when you sign him on a 3 at 35-year-old on an home save still, when he's banging 40 goals in, easy enough. But he's got somebody who's in this save has proven joint second top scorer last season. So it's massively understandable why Scott's done it. For me, I know different people say whether he's a striker. I know a couple of people do. I think LJ, he really likes him playing up top. And so I can't remember who it was. I saw somebody playing him up top the other day and he'd scored 40 goals in 30 games. I don't know if it was on Twitter or whether it was on that stupid Facebook group, but he can still do it up top as well. I do agree with Dimble in the sense of having that cutting edge striker for Collins to feed off behind might stop them actually going and having a real push to playoffs. I just can't see too many goals when you're looking at he's brought Drossos up, Paver, who's an absolute legend that everybody knows. Collins can score in goals. I'd look, to be fair, as well, I'd love to be proved wrong with that. I'd love to see João Paver go and get 15 goals now from now to the end of the season, and rocket Scott Taylor, because again, you look at your favourites on game and you want them to do as well in Super League as you can get out of them. But I think it's going to be a really, really tough ask. But I think Scott is a massive. Everybody talks about Macca being a massive thinker at game, but I think Scott himself as well, he knows the game inside out. And I think if anybody can get a tune out of what he's got left, it'll certainly be Scott.
You both mentioned, obviously, big name strikers there. So, Steve, I'll stick with you because we go 4 points and 1 place further on now, and we come to Haggis next. They do have a big name, big reputation striker, yet they're the lowest scorers in the league, having just 6 in 9 games. I mean, the word abysmal comes to mind there, really.
It's a tough. I mean, it's hard to see where it's going wrong for Ian, but again, I think he's been a bit guilty. Like I say, I'm not one to talk after last season, but changing things up a little bit too much at times. And Shevchenko is one for me. I did nearly get him off Alf, and it were really close. He were crying out for a DM, and it was going to happen for Davids. And in my head, I don't even know why I was doing it, because I do not like him on the game. But I was trying to inject. I was going to play him at AMC, and I was trying to get a few more goals from AMC. That was my whole objective. Because Ronaldo, he scored 6 in 20 odd, and I'd like a couple more. I would like an 8 to 10 out of an AMC. So I don't know. It's hard to see, because obviously Ian's more than proved his worth with squads that he's had. I genuinely do think on paper he's 11. He's one of the best in the league. I think he just needs to find a little bit of something that'll click with him. And I think once he does, they'll start going and rolling. Obviously, they've had a good couple of games. I know that they did really well against us when they played at our place, which is obviously not hard to do at this present time. And it's massive there. It's in Ian and his squad. But I think he just needs to find something to settle on. And then I think once he does, and getting Shevchenko into that mix, if he can end up with, I think looking at even now, they've only scored 6. If he can end up with 10 goals out of Shevchenko by the end of the season, I think he's ended up having a good season from the position they're sat in now. Obviously, a third away in the season.
Dimble, should Haggis be the sort of team that are still at this point looking at top 6? I mean, Steve's mentioned there that their starting 11, particularly on paper, would suggest so.
On paper, definitely. Ian needs to do better with the players he's got. They've not conceded many, have they? They've been quite solid at the back, but yeah, the goal is a big problem. I know he's been missing. Is it Salas who's been away on international? So if he comes back and starts scoring, then they'll look like a different team. So yeah, he needs to be doing more though. I think he'll admit it himself. It's not good enough. He's got a very, very good 11 and a decent squad behind it as well. And I think he needs to be definitely top half, pushing for playoffs at the very minimum.
If we can move on to Astor, Dimble, they're on 11 points at the moment. A word that, or a phrase that's come out the last sort of 2 or 3 game weeks is describing teams as a surprise package. And when you look at some of their performances, I know they're not in a position Alf would necessarily want them to be in, but when you consider where a lot of people predicted them to be, could Astor be this year's surprise package?
There's a possibility, but I think if you look at it from my point of view, they've been probably overachieving so far in terms of some of the results they've got they shouldn't have, and with that kind of overachievement, they're still sat in 11th. So it's going to be tough for Alf. He's up against very, very good teams around him and above him, and you wouldn't put it past him because he put so much kind of thought and effort into the game. He knows the game very well, and he gets some performances out of players that I would never even select. So yeah, I think the fact he kind of overperformed that he's still in 11th, I can't see him pushing for the playoffs at this point. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, Steve, before you answer that question, if I can just add something onto that, what's your take on the question of Nedved and the fact that he seems to have played in just about every position available already this season? I think he even spent 5 minutes in goal at one point.
I think the position he's found himself in, where he's playing his 4-1-2-1-2, I think it suited Alf. He's been, I think, Ian got that game out of him where he threw him up front and he scored twice. I'm sure Alf's done it this season, put him up top and he scored. And yeah, he's such another one of them, top players. It's so difficult to get a tune out of him on an home save, let alone at this level. But he seems to that diamond. I said about his diamond being really good, but when you've got Costa Nedved with Kluzny behind him, who, again, Kluzny for me is a proven player in Super League as well. We know he's got tendencies to be a bit naughty at times, but the creativity of them two with solidness of Kluzny, it's a really good, a lot better base. And Kluzny should have been playing for him last season, in my opinion. We're messing about with some of the other players. I think he was talking about differing from what he were playing. I think he still needs to stick with it a little bit because he's been getting good results and done really well with it. The one thing for me is I think I'd love to see a season from Alf where he goes with his gut on players' ratings and stays away from the CM Scout, right? Because I could have quite easily last game played Mark Viduka at AMC because it's less than 1% for him to play AMC or play at striker. There's no way you're getting anything out of Mark Viduka playing at AMC. I think he just needs to go with his gut on players that he knows. He obviously knows the game like back of his hand. He's played it that many years. To still be relying on Scout after all these years makes you wonder what it is. But the form they've had, the results, some of the results they've got, I'm going to jump on the comment that Alf will say when he said it certainly won't be me finishing bottom of the league. I can't see it myself this season, although I think I did tip him to be there. But I think he's shown that he's getting a bit more of a tactic and he's shown that he can compete.
If I can ask you, Steve, next about Spartak Sloths, 1 point currently better off than Alf, they're on 12. Finding something that resembles consistency will be key for any challenge, I think, for them. Their current record, played 9, won 3, drawn 3, lost 3. Finding that bit of consistency will be the key, won't it?
Yeah, it's finding that what they had at the start of last season for me. They've probably got more of a squad that's not as capable as some of the others, but when he's gone out and he's played like Craig's been playing on Sunday night, and it suited the players that he's got. And I think he's been playing that same formation for so long, and then he changed to the 2-4-2-1-2 or 1-1-2-1 a bit, and indifferent a little bit. But then he's gone. I think the formation that he played on Sunday night, I think it suited his players a lot more. Well, no, I say that what he played all last season, that suited his team down to a T. That's why we're getting so many goals. That's why we're getting so many good results. So many assists coming out of Zeraberto. But I think if you're going to change it up the way he has changed it up, I think it really suits him. And he were at home. I don't think it's I don't know. Gazelle's come at me with that formation and did a number on me. I think, but the Gazelle's squad is like a little bit of a enigma to be able to do that. But when I think he's massively got in his locker to go for a run and go for a big push, as we saw from last season, and how good they were for a big spell last season. So yeah, I think the word that you're saying there, consistency, is massively important to where they're going to go this year.
Vice versa, Dimble, before I ask Steve about his own team, Dudley come next on 13 points because it's very tight in that sort of middle range of clubs at the minute. Their record 1-4, drawn 1, lost 4. If they could just turn a few of them defeats into draws, they'd be substantially higher up the league table.
You sound like Steve. Yeah, I think. Yeah, they're a bit patchy still, and Steve's got he's got the basis of something that's going to work, I think, and he's tweaking it, and I think it could come good still. And I think Steve will probably figure it out, so it won't be too late for the playoffs. I mean, he's still very close. It's very tight in that middle pack from 11th to 3rd. Is only 4 points in it, so it's literally like a 1 game week, and you can jump kind of 3, 4, 5 places. So it's going to be up and down. But I think for Steve is to kind of not get not to beat himself up too much when he loses, and just kind of make a tweak or bring someone else in and stick to what he knows is going to work, rather than tearing it up and starting again because he's lost another home game. And I think that's the key to WL. I know he probably don't deserve the kind of name Tinkerman really, because he has been pretty consistent with his formations so far this season, probably more consistent than most teams. But you do get that feeling that Steve's one result away from kind of tearing it up and doing something completely different.
As we sit here, Steve, what resembles a successful season for you this year?
Yeah, well, playoffs, mate, definite. Finishing higher would be acceptable, which I don't think I'm capable of. But I should be looking at playoffs for me. I had the thing that worries me is I had this similar sort of form start last season where I've done a little bit better away from home at the start of the season than I did last year. I wanted a position. I was going to play the formation that got me them 7 points in 3 games with Bowie suspended. I didn't have enough in the locker to play them 3 centre midfielders. I didn't think to be able to play that against Macca, which, to be fair, I do want to stick with that tactic as long as possible and see where it goes. Because to go to the teams like Leicester, get a point, go to Wolves away and win. Spartak, like I say, as we saw at home, they can put any amount of goals on anybody, get a win there as well. It shows it's pretty solid and it will working for the players that I've got. I just didn't think I had the right players to be able to play it. And I think at home, this last game week, I think that was one of the more infuriating results I've had, if I'm honest, over last season and this season, because I'd probably say I've been in 90% of the games a lot of the time over my course of being in the league. I just want at all. It was just an absolute masterclass from Macca, and I'll take that on the chin. But yeah, I think Dimble's right in what he's saying. I think if you look at all my formations, there's been basically one person moved within the formation, so the main basis has always been there. But yeah, I think playoffs are achievable if we can find some consistency, which we just can't do. I think it was the same last season. You know, we had a very minimal. I think we had 3 draws all year, but 2 of them come really at the back end. And I think it was actually the game that we played Macca and we drew 2 apiece at our place when he scored twice in 90th minute. Well, I think Wood has said same on comms that game, saying if some of them losses could have been turned into draws. It's been mentioned by me a lot, but it's been mentioned by other people as well that I don't seem to be all that and win or lose. That's what it is. And if that's the way that your season's going, it's very good territory, really.
Steve's got a bit of a liability to just throw like a random player in there, hasn't he? And Cameron Root has recently just turned up in centre mid from nowhere. And obviously John Attacker last season. So that's probably where you get your kind of those kind of selections. If the player's 6 or a 5, people notice. Whereas if you played a regular and they got a 6, no one would say a word. So it's just kind of like, I think that kind of drew attention to the way Steve was picking his teams more than anything. So I do think that tag's a bit unfair. And I'm sure we're going to see Martin Eriksson at some point soon as well. So look forward to that.
It's starting next game.
There you go.
Also on 13 points at the moment. Quite what's the phrase I'm looking for? Idyllic, really, given the WhatsApp group we're all a part of. But Steve's Dudley Hillside are walking hand in hand with the Dragons at the minute. Also on 13 points. I think everyone said it, goes without question, they are substantially better than last season. But Dimble, a point I'd like to raise, and I'm not sure if you can look past the rhetoric that they put out. I mean, they call me out particularly for a lot of the stuff I say about my team, but we're all part of the same WhatsApp group. They bleat on and on and on about how if they had a striker, they'd be doing so much better. A stat for you, I'm not sure if you're both aware, they're currently the joint 2nd highest goal scorers in the league. 3 teams have 16 goals. The only team to do better than that is mine. And Dragons are one of those 3 teams to have scored 16. So they're not doing too badly in front of goal.
No, I agree. I do think they're trying to drive that narrative, and they're kind of right. I think they probably, if they had a first choice kind of Super League striker and probably a better option at AM instead of kind of Constantinu and D'Alessandro, they would be looked at in a different way. But to say they haven't got a striker is a lie, isn't it? They've got goals in that team. There's no excuses for not finishing in the top 8, top 6 for them this season. Although I'm sure there will be an excuse thrown out if that happens.
Well, this is what I was going to ask Steve. When you consider, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, the sheer amount of ego in that manager's office between the 3 of them, okay, I've told them that they should be top 4. Top 6 worst case this season. But whenever something like that is said about them, all you get back is we were bottom last year. So it's almost as if they're saying now, despite all the bravado and what, you know, all the theatrics that go with the 3 of them, if they finish 7th, they'll see it as an achievement. But really, they won't be thinking that, will they?
Probably not, no. And I wouldn't say theatrics from the 3 of them, really. I'd say it's 2.5. It dips in every now and then, does Jamie, with some of the theatrics. What I would say is, I think, I'm not discrediting saying this, I think saying they probably should be top 4, I think that's giving them a bit too much credit. I don't think they've got enough firepower in that AM and striker, as they're well aware of, as we're all being told and we're all well aware of.
But we've actually proved it's false.
Yeah, but you got to see that Joe Cole scored, 30% of them goals. Them 5 goals that he's got, if they start drying up, where they're coming from as a whole, Archie Back's probably got 3 now, 3, maybe 4. So when the majority of goals have come from 2 players that are not playing up top as well, it still proves the fact that they haven't got a striker that can carry him to 12, 15 goals, that probably would shoot them up to being in and around 6 and maybe, like I say, 5th, 4th. It's difficult from their point of view. If we're checking out the WhatsApp group, it's difficult from their point of view when there's so many clubs that have done the majority of the business. And then when you're trying to go for somebody, if somebody's got, well, we'll offer you this and this for this person, but they've only got one transfer left and they can't bring 2 in for that one as well. You've got, I do think a season for them is being in and around the fight for the 6. It'd be a good season for them. I really do. In the 6 would be very good because of a lack of firepower. It means that the whole team themselves will work together, because the defensive for the two defenders and Khan's playing a lot better is as good as you'll see in and around the league. Like I say, it's just what's in front. But if they can stay in around the 6, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and challenge, and then when the end of the season comes, start talking to. But when you look at the squad, what have they got to offer come next season to try and bring a real marksman in? And are they going to have to be offering 2/3 players for somebody of that level as well, which imbalances the side again? Like I said, taking out that we know it's a weird situation they're going to find themselves in for a couple of seasons for me until they hit it right. But the basis is there now to build and go on, and within the next couple of seasons, really challenge for it.
They say 2 is good, but 3 is always better. And there is a 3rd team sitting on 13 points, Steve. It's the last team under the dotted line, and it's Northern Burn. And the question is simply this: is this finally going to be Ian's year?
I think it's proving more than any other that it's likely to be. This form hasn't started now. This form has started back in the last season, where I had a good end to the season, where he was a little bit indifferent. Then he started picking a bit of consistency up, finished above me last game of the season. He's got Maxim, in terms of goal for game ratio, the best I've ever seen, ever been involved, even looking back at some of the older Super League stuff when you have a look. But that's the way he's setting his side up. And Del Piero, just honestly, whatever he's done with him, whatever pre-match workout, whatever shakes he's given him beforehand, it's no one at this present time. There is no justification for Ian Rogan being that team. I know it was brought up on comms, but where do you put him? Where do you put him in that team at this present time? You looked at his average rating, which it wasn't good for me. It was okay for him last season. A couple of games he's played this season, not been great. He's still only 19-year-old, whatever, at this present minute as well. So he's going to come good for him next season or 2 as well. But he can't be changing what he's done, especially after that win against Churchtown. And I know they played one at the back, but to have both his AMs like Henry and Del Piero on a Sunday night, it stands them in massive stead to make a real push. And they have got that quality right through 1 to 11 and a couple of really good backups. I do think he's got a massive, probably best chance he's ever had of getting in 6.
And Dimble, taking matters off the field, I know when you take all the banter, all the sort of obvious in-your-face stuff out of the way, I know I got a few messages last year saying that people were genuinely quite happy that it had finally happened for me. So when you see someone of the longevity of Ian and what he's put into the Super League, it's the feel-good story if he was to finally crack it this year, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was a neutral until yesterday, and I was kind of backing Ian. I wanted Ian to do it, so I think most of the fellow managers probably feel the same way. He's one of the good guys, isn't he? You can tell he's a good guy. Never met the guy, only spoken to him for a few minutes and a couple of calls and stuff like that. So, but you can just tell he's a good guy, and he definitely deserves some kind of payback for the amount of time and effort he's put into this league, especially with all the badges and the kits and everything like that. And he's built a squad that's, I think, is definitely capable, and I think he's good at doing that, because I think he's proven before he's built a good squad, so he's like the ideal kind of director of football for the league, I'd imagine, and hopefully he can put the tactics kind of with it this year to make that push into the playoffs. And no one would want to play against his team on the day when they turn up, because they've got so much talent and kind of forward power that they could blow anyone away. So yeah, it's on Ian though. He's the one that's got to do it now. He's got the squad. He's in the back position. He's kind of poised nicely. Everyone's kind of rooting for him. So it's up to him now to go and do it.
Last thing I'll quickly say on Burn, it's not quite that. Is the reason it's working? It's not quite as galactical as he's previously had.
So it's an interesting viewpoint on that, because I know that has been a criticism that even I've thrown out at times, that when you look at the sheer strength Ian's had in the past, he should have done a lot better. Let's cross over the line now into the current top six. Dimble, I'll come to you first, if I may. Defending champions, Locomotive Boston, currently sitting 6th, 1 point clear of Burn, Dragons, Dudley. And impressively, despite all the pre-season talk of it was going to be free-flowing attacking football, which Greavesy has tried to install at times, although he's now playing 27 at the back, it seems. There has only been the one defeat up to this point, which for a team sitting 6th is quite incredible, really.
Yeah, he's got every right to do what he's doing. It's not very entertaining, and he kind of claims that he's having more shots and more chances than other teams and stuff like that. But everyone can see it with their own eyes. Yeah, no one would pay to watch that. It's Mourinho stuff, isn't it? But he's got the right to do that. He's reigning champ. He's proven that he's successful, because he won it last year. What annoys me about the situation is people like me now criticising him for it. Just go out and beat it. Go out and beat it, because until you can come up with a way of beating it, he's going to keep doing it, isn't he? So it's on us now, the managers in the league, to figure out a formula that everyone can kind of copy and paste to outdo it. And that's my thoughts on it right now.
Steve, when you think of how tight the league is at the moment, and we can only foresee it, based on how it ended last season and how it's looking now, we can only see it remaining this sort of tight for at least a few weeks more. Do you see Locomotive as realistically going back to back, or equally, can you see them dropping out altogether?
I think it's too early to talk about back to back. But one thing I will say is, I can't see him not being in the top 6. I mean, I speak after every game, day after me and Greaves chat after every game. We talk about how we've done and what is going to place. I mean, the one thing that I think one of the worst things that did annoy him last year, he did go for it against me when I played him, and I've never done a shithousing tactic ever in my life, and I went there and proper shithouse a point out of him towards the back end of last season. I wasn't proud of it, but you can't see with the lack of, lack of defeats. Yeah, he's had a few draws. If you take it all back into last season as well, he's had a long stretch of not being beat, or a couple of minor defeats in a long stretch of games, and it's hard to not seeing it continue. And you know what? For me, as a champ manager fan, forgetting the Super League, to see somebody being able to be more bothered about not losing games than going out and trying to smash somebody, it's a massive variant on champ manager itself, and it's new to me. And yeah,
he's the only bloke in champ manager history that doesn't enjoy seeing the flashing text, isn't he? maybe he's like a secret epileptic or something like that. He kind of sets him off. He don't want to see it.
Well, I wonder if they could implement that. I saw one of the guys that's in the 97-98 bubble. He created like a thing where you don't see no commentary, you just see goals pop up when it happened. So it'll come up, so and so scored this minute, no commentary whatsoever, and I think that probably suit Greavesy down to a T. But yeah, look, at this present minute, or probably ever from his time in the league, you can't say he probably won't be in with a shout, or probably won't make the top six, because he's got a way of getting results, and by hook or by crook he does.
If I can just deviate away from the Super League momentarily, just picking up on something you both said there, and it's a perfect likening. The news today that Mourinho has taken over at Roma for the CM0102 enthusiasts. Is Mourinho gonna go full Greavesy and make Roma the CM0102 beast that they once were?
Well, you'll see it in next Football Manager, won't you? Well, they'll just copycat it. 0102. They've already started putting 0102 databases out, haven't they? So Football Manager 22 will be Roma. It'll be the team that you can't beat again.
Yeah, I mean, it's only going to end in tears, isn't it? It's inevitable meltdown of the Roma squad coming in 18 months to. Well, it's kind of getting shorter now, isn't it? So yeah, within 18 months, I imagine there'll be some kind of situation. With him, it's his style of management is just not going to work, is it? And until he finds a team where he can kind of impose it on him and no one's going to fight back, maybe. So the lower down he goes, he might find some success again. But I don't think it'll be with Roma.
Back onto All Matters Super League, and Dimble, I'll come to you. In fifth place on 14 points again, Hull's Vikings, the team that I tipped as to win it, basically. 1-4, drawn 3, lost 2. We're kind of mirroring some of the teams lower down, but they have managed to turn that draw into a win, turn that loss into a draw. They're grinding results out. It's probably not been as good as Jens was hoping for, but it's not been bad, has it?
Yeah, I think he had a really good start, didn't he? And kind of I'm looking at the table now, but my feelings were that Hull's had kind of made a bit of a patchy start. But then you look at the table and they're still in fifth, within touching distance of the top two. So because he's lost a couple of games recently, or he's not turned up in a couple of games. I know he won it last weekend, but kind of had that feeling that he was kind of failing a little bit, but he's certainly not. And he's got a very, very good team, as we all know, and he's getting good stuff out of most of them. I just think he needs kind of Nicky Ferenko or an AM to really turn up now, and I think he could be unstoppable if he gets in the right kind of flow. Big fan of Jens for many reasons, and I do like his Hull's team.
I think a lot of people are big fans of Jens for various reasons. Steve, Dimble makes a very valid point. When you've mentioned a couple of players, pros and cons, as we've looked at some of the teams, is the jury out on Nicky Ferenko? He's not exactly being all like an elite player for Jens, is he?
No, I don't think it was last season. I think he had a spell where he was scoring a couple but assisting a couple. But yeah, you wouldn't be surprised to see him dropped at some point. It's weird. It's not until it's spelled out to you, because it does seem like it's been a really rough 2 or 3 weeks for Jens. But it's not until it's spelled out that he's lost 2 games out of the amount of games that we've played, that it's nowhere near as bad as you may see it on the face of it, or as Jens has portrayed it out. It's a strange one, but he's got more than enough there. If you're having a bad spell and not getting results, but you're scraping a draw here and there, it's then once you've got them results and you go on and run again. I don't doubt personally. I think those will certainly be top 6 this year.
Yeah, I think Nicky's not turned up, so I think it's actually has that led to Jens kind of changing his formation? He's tweaked it slightly recently, hasn't he? So I think he's been dropped. He's playing two MCs instead of an AM. So yeah, I think at some point Nicky will come back in and get another chance, and I think he will be the difference. Like, if he could properly fire, then that would be the difference for me.
Leddersford, Steve, for all their unquestionable talent on and off the pitch, I don't think, you know, Hodgie has anything to prove to anyone anymore. They've conceded just 8 goals. You know, they've got the strictest defence in the league currently. Is that defensive strength, that defensive capability going to be what potentially guides him to another final?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, he's not firing all cylinders going forward at the minute, but he's not conceding. Again, as we saw last season, once it clicks, you know, and they start getting free-flowing start. I mean, I know he obviously dropped back to two AMCs last game, and I mean, Ursi, for me, if you take out the run that Torres had, I think over last season, this season, I think Ursi's probably been his really, really big play. You know, getting the numbers he was getting out of him at DML were superb. And yeah, once the attack starts clicking again, you still can't see what he's got sat behind it, conceding many goals. So, but you know, everybody has a little bit of an indifferent spell. But if Hodgie's having a bit of an indifferent spell, sat fifth now, when he kicks on again, you know, yeah, it can be a bit of a worry for the rest of us.
Dimble, quite remarkably, if you were to just look at the tweets and the messages of the next manager, you would assume Fulchester were sort of down with Churchtown and Bostock. But remarkably, at time of recording, they're sitting third, 15 points. And to liken them to someone else we spoke about earlier, they're like a good version of Dudley Hill, because they don't draw games. So just imagine, you know, if they'd have turned just a couple of those defeats that they've had, even into draws, again, that they'd be sitting top of the league quite easily.
Yeah, I didn't think they were third. It's a similar thing to Hawes, that you listen to the managers and see them chatting away and stuff, and presume they've got off to a fairly average start. But like you say, third place in the league. I know he's had a couple of wins on the bounce. I don't think he's conceded for 3 or 4 games, so that's probably where the difference has come for him. And I know he messed around a little bit, didn't he, to kind of prove a point as well. I think he got away with a couple there, to be honest. I think he probably deserves to be punished more for kind of some of the formation. Well, he definitely played one formation that was kind of a load of shite with Giggs at left back, etc. But yeah, I mean, it's ominous, isn't it, when he's not really firing, but he's in third place, and you can only see them getting better from now on. I can't see them finishing any lower than second or third from here on in.
Yeah. He makes a good point, Steve, with Fulchester, in terms of their form at the minute is ominous, and no one really wants to play them at the moment, do they?
Oh no, I think he'd won 3 out bounce before playing me last week, and like I say, he just broke down every inch of a chance I had. I mean, would it have been a different game had that Crespo goal stood early doors? It might have been interesting, but 4 wins up bounce. I said Macca would finish top this season, and it was a little bit different. Sat second bottom a couple of weeks back. You know, we stuck at bottom, and I, especially after these last couple of weeks, I certainly can't see any different for me personally than that original. You know, that original thought that he'll finish top.
I'll stick with you, Steve, if I may, to discuss Gazelles. They're sitting second, 17 points at the moment. Last year, there was a lot of talk, mainly because of how they appeared to be struggling, about how strong their squad was. And again, they should be doing considerably better. Almost everyone was tipping them to win it. This year, no one's really talking about them at all, and they just seem to be quietly going about their business. You know, they're sitting second, and because everyone expects them to be there, no one's sort of mentioning how good they're actually being at the minute.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I was one that probably I think I said that I think they'd finish outside the playoffs, because they were indifferent and a really good push towards back in the season. It's probably naive on my part, really, because when you look at their end of season again, going a little bit similar to we and just a little bit further up the table. But they've taken that into this season where they've just been I think considering the formation they're playing and what they've come up against, I think Phenomenal's probably, I don't think they could have been any better than they currently have, considering the formation. They've got no in midfield apart from the DMs, where a lot of people are putting a lot of people there, or one or two. But yeah, I totally agree with you. They're going massively under the radar, but they shouldn't be. But they went under the radar with prediction pre-season, and if you ask everybody now, a third away in a season, where they think people will happen, who do you think will be favourites for it? I'm sure, as it would anyway, when season starts. But I'm sure people would massively change their predictions if we had a bit of a redraw.
Dimble, the last team to discuss before we do a quick preview of the next round of games is obviously Devils, sitting top of the table, 20 points. Currently the top goal scorers with 25. My question for you, because I know what Steve will say more than anything, when you consider what everyone knows will inevitably happen at some point this season, for however many games it lasts for, is the 7-point gap currently there forming enough of a cushion at this stage between Devils and the dotted line?
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't even be looking at that. You should be looking at setting goal scoring records and seeing if you can run away with it at this point. I think, yeah, you got half the points you needed already in 9 games to finish in the top 6. With the talent you got going forward, if you've obviously not got a massive amount behind it, but your first 11 has got, if you put that out more for 10 more times the rest of the season, they're going to win 8 games. So that's another 20 odd points. So yeah, they've been really good, and I don't think you get enough credit, Fifey. Even though you've got a good squad, I don't think you get enough credit for what you've got them ticking, and it's not as easy as that. We all know that, especially against the quality of opposition every week. And everyone's out now to take you down, as some of the comments in the chats and stuff like that, kind of targeting you, trying to knock you down a peg or two. It's because you're the top boy at the minute. So kind of take pride at that, and just keep shutting them up and keep feeding them pens, and you'll be fine.
The main concern, if you can take it the way about talking about me, if you like, Steve, if you were in charge of Devils, the main concern is that the same frailties are still there. I said at the start of the season, the one thing I wanted to do was be better defensively, and on the whole, it seems to be the case. We've conceded, I think we have conceded the most in the top half of the table. But when you consider 5 of those was in the last game, which was a complete shit show of a performance, and 3 of those was against Alf in one of the most bizarre Super League games of all time, I think we've only conceded another 4 or 5 in the rest of the game. So we were averaging at one point less than 1 a game, and then those 2 came about.
Yeah, well, I think that's where you've got to look at. You're going to get freak results. Them stuff are going to happen. And I massively agree with Dimble that a lot of the credit needs to lie with you, regardless of the players that are on the park. I know everybody said you were playing it a bit more, this, that, and other. But you've not had your tactics generator out last season and this season, apart from a couple of little incidents.
I was going to say, do you not remember the international break where all sorts was going on?
Yeah, but even those paid off for you, Fifey. Everything you touch at the minute is kind of coming up good. So yeah, I mean, nobody expected those formations to win. Look what you turned out. The performances you turned out with those, and then you go and do that with 10 men on the weekend.
I remember it more than most. Quite at home. But yeah, it's one of them, though, mate. I think you deserve massive credit for what it is. Yeah, there comes a point where everybody knows the game engine, and you know something's going to come at some point. But it's when. And, you know, can you see it this week? I don't know. It's tough because I think Dimble's going to massively change it up from what Kieran's been playing. So I've always found, even on home save, if you're playing something regular for, say, 15 games, if you put a new formation in, you struggle a little bit to start with as well. So it'll be a tough ask for Dimble to get something out of the game. If he does, I think it'll be massive Churchtown. But
let's not get ahead of ourselves, because we have got that game to preview next, if I can. Let's start at the top of the fixture list. Steve, I'll start with you. If you could preview for me, please, Fulchester versus Astor. And last season, this was a little bit of a grudge match.
Well, yeah, obviously there were it were there for everyone to see, wasn't it, last season? 4 wins on bounce for Mackie. You can't see anything other, can you, than a Fulchester win here. Just, you know, if Alf gets something out of this game, I'm sure Mackie will be throwing more bets out and more. But yeah, certainly couldn't form the ring, and especially if Alf sticks to something like he has been doing, it's a bit more standard on game. I can't see it past. I can see it being a tight game. I really can. I could probably see maybe a 1-0 or a 2-1 Fulchester, but you can't look past them at the minute.
Dimble, if I can ask you about a game that has the potential to either be fireworks or just 90 minutes in a library, Gazelles v Haggett's.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Yeah, I see what you're saying there. It could go off, or it could be a bit of a bore. I fancy a draw in that one. I would say a low-scoring draw would be my kind of gut feeling on it. Without seeing the teams, I think it's pretty clear that Craig will probably go with a 3 up top again. I do think he needs to actually think about that and think, how can I be that 3 at the top, rather than just sticking with what he's been doing without any thought behind it. And if he does that, he's got a good chance. Gazelles, I think he's been squeezing everything he can out of that squad so far. I didn't get a chance to talk about them earlier, but that was my thoughts on it. Craig's kind of properly maximised what he's getting out of that team to sit second at this point. And the way I look at these things is, if someone's kind of overachieving, it tends to come back to the average, doesn't it? And I can see a kind of slight Gazelle slip. Not saying they're going to fall out of the playoffs or anything, but I think they'll probably come back to the pack a bit more. So yeah, I think Haggett's have got a chance in that one.
Steve, another game which I think this has got, you know, entertainment written all over this one, Halls v Slough.
Well, yeah, as it stands, there's a lot of goals in Sloughs, and as Yender's alluded to, he has struggled for getting that consistency with goals over the last couple of weeks. So I think it's probably one of the tougher ones to judge, considering, just because also, like we said, even though they haven't lost, they've been a little bit indifferent. Sloughs have just gone and got a couple of good results. If I can go away and win at Hulls, I can see as much as everybody loves Jens for various reasons, we'll go back to it. I think Sloughs might just be finding that little bit that can give them a little bit of a chance, and I'm going to go 2-1 Sloughs there.
Okay, I'm going to actually no, not yet. Dimble, I'll ask you about potentially on paper one of the games of the round, Leddersford v Dragons.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear what Hodge is going to do. Can the Dragons figure out something to beat that? I can't see them scoring many goals, so it'd be a case of them having to shut up shop defensively. So I can't see past the home win, but the way Dragons have been playing, it'll probably be 2 late goals from Joe Cole and a 3-2 win or something. You never know. It's going to be a good game though, I think, that one.
I'm going to stick with you, Dimble. Just it'll make sense why when you see the order the fixtures come out. But we've got Locomotive Boston against Bostock Stanley in game 5.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very tough one. I mean, he's lost about 2 games in the last 50, hasn't it? Well, how many he's been in the league? He's been in the league 35 games. He's probably lost 2 or 3 of those. So it's not going to be an away win unless something crazy happens. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's another low scoring draw, 0-0 or 1-1. I fancy Scott to start turning things around a little bit. So yeah, that'd be my prediction for that one.
Steve, you could give us the lowdown on your trip to Northern Burn, please.
Well, I think I've got more of a chance that I'm away for a start. It's not a game. I didn't relish playing at home against Macca. Don't relish going to how Burn have been going. The formation I'm playing, it got me 7 points out of 9 in my last 3 away games. I don't know. I don't know.
Is it
4-1 Dudley?
When you consider the position both teams find themselves in at this stage, and where both teams are hoping to get to, is it critical to win? Are we calling this a 6-pointer, or is it more critical not to lose this game?
Yeah, I think it's probably slightly early to say that, but as we say, we're a third into the season out there. So if you've got aspirations, you've got to be beating the teams around you. Yeah, I think you're right in what you're saying. More critical not to lose, but I haven't set up not to lose. I've set up to have a go with the way I've gone because let's be honest, at times they can concede goals, can Burn. So as we can, as has been proved, if Burn score early, we'll lose. That's the way the season's gone. We concede an early goal. The only I've conceded early goal twice this season and done all right. But early goal, lose. That's it. Barely score. So early goal, win quite comfortably. So if we get an early goal, I think we'll win. But yeah, for me being the away team, I think it's more critical for me not to lose, but more pressure being at home, probably needing a win to give him that bit of a push at 6.
The final game is your debut in the Churchtown dugout, Dimble. I can confirm the Devils team has been submitted as per the tweet that went out. Obviously, Gugu is suspended, Gio's injured, and Penzer's not fit enough to play. You must be licking your lips at the prospect of this, surely.
Absolutely not, no. A massive thanks to Kieran for thinking of me. I don't know if he's been pointing in my direction or he thought of me himself, but yeah, massive thanks to him for giving me a chance to kind of take over temporarily. But he couldn't have put me in a worse spot in the first game. So there's no pressure on me from outside to do anything here as long as I don't get embarrassed. I don't think my credibility's shot.
We know that's not the case. We know that there's at least 3 people on the end of the WhatsApp group chat demanding that you win.
Oh yeah, there's some pressure then, but I'm putting pressure on myself to kind of show what I can do because I don't know how long this is going to last. It could only be a couple of games. I don't know. So yeah, I want to kind of have a go, and I'm definitely looking to do that.
Without
causing an upset away at Devils would be the perfect way to do it.
Without obviously asking you to give too much away, because I know you'll want to keep it as guarded as you can going into match day. Can you give us any team news? Is there anyone missing, or have you got a full squad to play with?
Your team's in, so I don't mind saying what I'm thinking. Yeah, I've got a full squad to choose from. Everyone's 100%. The morale's fairly good considering the only 4 points from 9 games. I'm looking to give a couple of people debuts that haven't turned out yet. The team I've got in mind at the minute, yeah, there's a new interesting thing going on up the top, up the front. So look out for that, I think. Yeah. Although I don't forgot the balls to pull the trigger on it. At the minute, I've kind of.
Whatever you're thinking, you might as well go for it, because Rob proved and Alf proved if you attack devils, you will get something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be stupid, because I think if I do attack you, I will get kind of torn apart. So I'm not going all out attack or anything like that. I'm just going to try something a little bit different, which I've not seen in the Super League. So it's kind of a way of kind of making a statement as well. So yeah, I don't know. It might look a bit silly on paper, but I think it might work. Yeah, I just don't want to get embarrassed. I want to score a couple of goals. If I lose kind of 3-2, 4-2, I won't be too gutted. Next week I've got Bostock if I'm still in charge, so I'm already thinking about that game. Yeah, I've got a few selection choices to make. There's some players I've not even seen the stats for these players, even the attributes. So that's one thing I might need to kind of ask Martin or Ryan to do for me, because I'm literally blind with some of them. Someone like Patrick Powell, I think he's got quite a lot of zeros in the editor, so he could be anything. He could have like mad long shots or mad passing or something. I don't know. So there's quite a lot of unknowns going into it, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I'll be nervous as anything, and I just, like I say, if I lose, I'll be a bit gutted, but I'll move on quickly.
Well, listen, I know a lot of the Super League family, whether it's the managers or you know the fans that watch every week, will be delighted that you're in the hot seat for however long you are. I want to wish you good luck for your tenure. Obviously, if you can start off with a massive defeat and then gradually build from there, that would be ideal for me. But I'm fully expecting, having played, as Steve keeps pointing out to my detriment, having played network saves with you and seen what you are capable of doing, I'm fully expecting a second defeat in a row.
There's no doubt that I've had your pants down in a few network saves, but I think this is completely different.
It's to my detriment, probably 65% of the time. You know, I've had that little edge, like a little bit of time, but it's.
Steve usually beats me when he's had his checkbook out.
I don't mind a checkbook.
But man on man, it's usually me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I say, I think it's completely different. It's not my team. It's not a lot of players I wouldn't have selected. So it's kind of like, there's my excuses out of the way. But I will give it a go. There's going to be no excuses come game time. It's I've got a chance to pick from 24 fit players. Or decent players on the game, so yeah, no excuses really. I'm expecting to give you a good game, and I can't see why I can't upset you. I can't see why, especially with Impenza out. I think that is a massive blow.
It is, and I'd certainly be keeping an eye on the Devils' Twitter over the next sort of 48 hours. As a few little, as I say, my team's in, but I'll be putting a few sort of survey tweets out just to gauge people's opinions on what they think I might be thinking. They know how I emotionally react when I get my ass handed to me like I did on Sunday. So
yeah, I'll be interested to see that. What I predict, I mean, you can't change it, but what I predict is a Jermaine Defoe debut. That's what I predict.
I will tell you that Jermaine Defoe is in the squad. But that probably doesn't surprise you, given that I only have 4 strikers and one of them is injured. So, yes, Defoe is in the matchday squad. Listen, gents, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for ignoring what's going on at the Etihad Stadium to talk to me for an hour or so about the Super League. And whether it's Friday or Sunday, we will see you then. Good night.
Yeah. Cheers, bye. Cheers, Steve. See you.